So officially in 2 weeks, we will turn on centralized inventory for everyone. You will still have the option to use your current delivery builder. We would definitely encourage everyone to start utilizing centralized inventory. We will sunset the old system, the old build at some point, but we do not have a date for that. We will not rush that. We'll give you as much time as possible as you need to learn the new system. So definitely encourage reading the help doc in addition to watching this demo before you dive in. And just so you know, you will still be able to use the old labels with the new builder. And the purpose of this call is mainly to do a really big demo with Emily Yanchek. She's going to take you through the whole system. We're glad to see a lot of farmers here and hope y'all are really excited because this tool should save you a lot of time. So with that, that's all I really have. This is going to be all Emily today.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We have kind of a lot to get through today. So I'm going to try and fit it all in. Please do feel free to ask questions as you have them. This recording will be available afterwards in case anybody misses out or we don't get to something. Yeah, let me get started. Share my screen. Okay. Like Kelly said, when we turn this on, you will be able to use it, and we encourage you to start using it and getting a feel for it and getting your questions and concerns to your account manager so that they can discuss them with the development team so that we can make sure that everybody's in a good place when it comes time to cut off the old version. So I'm going to start with the product management page. There are two new pages when we turn on centralized inventory. One will be the product management page and one will be the delivery builder. So this page is designed to replace your existing product list and farm product creation tool. So here you can see we have a list of all of our products in a table, and this lets you see at a glance all of the kind of most important aspects of your products. So you have your product name and the image, your pack order, you can set here what department it's in. The tags, if you haven't been using this yet, we encouraged everybody to start using these when we turned on the new customization page because these are displayed for the member there. But here you get a drop-down list of all the tags that are available to put on your products to give your members just more information about what they're buying, right? So you can just check and uncheck anything you want in here and then click away and it'll change this. I need to zoom out a little bit, huh? Here we go. It will add the ability to save or cancel your changes here. So I'm going to hit save. And you can see these are still there. I do want to note this thing with the images getting squished when you save. We are aware of it. We do have a ticket in there to fix it, but it does go away when you refresh the page. So it's just a display thing with this page. It's not actually affecting your products at all when that happens. The producer is also a field that is shown on the customized page. So if you are selling any products that you are not growing yourself, if you're partnering with neighboring farms or you're you're importing goods to supplement your offerings, this is where you can highlight who those items are coming from. So right now, this is just a text field. It will be a drop down that will allow you to select from any existing ones. Like you can see, we have Harvey Farm here. We have a couple other producers that we've listed. Those will appear in a drop down, but for now, you can just enter something and then click away. And you can make multiple changes before you save. You don't have to save every time you make a change to one field. So let's say I want to set my producer. I want to set, maybe I want to sell these by a different unit than the each, because Brussels sprouts by the each is a little silly, right? So let's say I'm going to sell these by the pound, and I'm going to make them not $0. So let's say our Brussels sprouts are $6 a pound. You can type that in manually, or you can use these arrow keys here to change the price in whole dollar increments. And then I'm also going to update my SKU to reflect that I changed this. So instead of Brussels sprouts each, we're going to say Brussels sprouts pound. The SKU, I know we've had some questions about before, so I'll just touch on really quickly. This shows up on the new labels in the logistics page. And it is designed to make packing more efficient, particularly if you are doing something like selling multiple variants of a product, selling a product by different quantities or something like that. You can sort of abbreviate that information in the SKU, and it all fits on one line on the labels rather than having to worry about text wrapping or font size changing to accommodate it. So it does have a maximum length of 16 characters.
Harvey Inventory. Oh. And I didn't even think it was relevant to you, and then I remembered.
So now I've made a couple of changes here, right? So I have my producer, my SKU, and my unit type, and I'm going to hit save. And all those changes are saved in one action. You can search for products here as well. So you may have a fairly long list. There is going to be pagination added to this page. It is not here right now. Similarly, there will also be more advanced filtering added. There's nothing over here right now, but you will be able to filter by the department or the producer or something like that if you want to narrow down your list. But for now, you can search by the product name. So maybe I want to look at my tomatoes. You can just type in and it'll start searching as you're typing. And then clear that to go back to your full list. Another thing you'll notice here with editing the images, you can see that like our squashes, they all have the same image here, because they're all using the default image on the base Harvey product for squash. Now, if I want to edit the image, depending on how you created your product, this is going to look a little bit different. So if you're using the default Harvey image, it is not going to appear here for editing, because you can't edit the default image, right? But you can add a new one. And I happen to know that I have a honey nut squash here. So when you import your image, you see that you get some options for zoom and rotation. So I can zoom this in or out if I want to. I can also move it around to change where the center of the image is. And then when you're happy with that, you can just click save. And you'll see the image change on our page here. if you have a product that you have already uploaded several images for, you've changed them around a couple of times, you'll see all of the images that you have uploaded here for that product. Obviously, some of these are not beats, but keep in mind this is a test farm, so we do some crazy stuff on here. But let's say, you know, I don't want the image I've selected. I want to use one of the previous ones. I can pick that here. And again, I can make any edits I want. And when I do this and save it, I will still have the original image in here. But the one that is used will be the one that I just set. So you can see the one without the zoom is here. The one with the zoom is what's set, and it's at the bottom of the list. And if you change your mind about making any edits in here, you can just close out. You can also create a new product in this page. So we have a little new product button up in the top right here. And this is going to let you fill in. So this replaces the old create product page. You can fill in anything you want. So let's say we have a bouquet of sunflowers. You can choose your base product here. And this also is searchable. And the department that it goes in, again, searchable as well. These are also sorted alphabetically. Enter a description. And the tags are optional. I'm going to bypass those for now. Here you get your same image editing capabilities that we just saw in the main page. So I'm going to pick my image and save it. And then you can set up variants. So for right now, there's only support for one variant per product. I know a few of you have asked about when multiple variants are coming. I'm going to talk about that in a couple minutes after I finish taking you through this page. So just sit tight for a minute. So it'll give you some default values for your SKU and the default base quantity and unit type for the base product that you selected. You can edit anything in here if you want to. You can set a price and then hit finish.
Emily, we have a quick question here.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of product categories and departments, are there generic options in case we can't find what we're looking for?
Are there generic options? So the base products and the department options are the same as they've always been. So you can inherit from the same products that you've been using the whole time. And when you click in this department list, these should look pretty familiar. We did add a few recently. I'm not sure if that answered the question. If you're asking about them auto-populating in that modal, they do not do that yet, but we do also have a ticket to add that. Does that help? Let me see if I can.
Yeah, I'll take that as a yes, unless we get another question, a follow up about that. And the chat, we have another quick question. Are we going to need to save each time we make a change, which is problematic with slow internet? Which
you need to save per product, but not for every change. So for example, if I add some tags to my winter squash, and let's say I change my eggs to be a dozen rather than a carton, right? So I can change multiple fields here. So I've changed my unit type to dozen, and I will also change my SKU to dozen, and maybe I'll change my variant name as well. This is what will appear on the customized page for members. So maybe I want to clarify for them that it's by the dozen. So you see now that both product rows are highlighted. If I save one, it's going to save all the changes on this one, but it does not affect the winter squash. So I can still cancel or save this independently.
Okay. And then a quick follow-up to the department question. What happens if, I think the question is, what happens if they need a department that is not automatically displayed here, such as t-shirts or merch?
So if you need a department that does not exist, I think there are a couple of farms that do have things like t-shirts and tote bags. I think that they're using other for that, or possibly merchandise. But if there is not something that you would like there to be, talk about that with your account manager. We need to add that as developers. We can have someone on the team add that if there's a need for it. And then the same goes for base products. If there is not one that it makes sense for you to override for the product that you're adding, talk to your account manager and we can add them in.
Okay, perfect. And we're getting some feedback about a potential ticket request for a batch save button that would help save time here.
Yeah, that's something the engineering team can take a look at, and I'll make a note of that to add like a sort of a save all action. Okay, anything else about creating products, editing products before I move on to inventory? Okay. So you'll notice that we have 3 separate fields here for inventory. We have the inventory quantity, the held quantity, and the share quantity. So inventory quantity is the total that you have available to sell. So your complete inventory that is not currently in anybody's box. The held quantity is the number of the item that are currently in members' boxes in deliveries that are active. So when you open a delivery, when you first launch a delivery, you'll see these numbers change for any products that are included in that delivery to reflect how many people have in their boxes. So let's say I have 200 Brussels sprouts, and I launch a delivery and 20 of them get automatically built into members boxes. The next time I came to this page, instead of 200, I would see 180 here and 20 here. And then during customization, as members add and remove items, these will change accordingly. These do take into account any deliveries that are active. So for instance, if you have a regular CSA delivery and a farm stand delivery active at the same time, and you have Brussels sprouts in both of them, the held quantity here will be the total for both deliveries. And then when you finalize your delivery, and those items are no longer considered part of your inventory, they're now sold, essentially, this will go back to 0. The share quantity is the same as it's always been. We also, some people refer to this as the base quantity, but this is the number of the item that will be put into the member's box at a time. So 1 pound of Brussels sprouts or 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts, the unit that the member can purchase the item by. We have one more field over here that is likely unfamiliar to some of you if you haven't tried using logistics yet, and that's the label group. So this is replacing the checkbox for separate label on our farm products. You can now designate a name for the label you want it to use, and instead of every product having its own separate label, you can put multiple products on the same. So let's say you want, for instance, everything that needs to be stored cold to be in one package. So we have all of our labels that are currently in use are shown in a drop down here, and I can just select them and change them as needed. I can also create a new, I'm going to switch this one back to default. You can also create a separate label in addition to the ones that are already here. So let's say I want to pack my potatoes separately because they're heavy, right? I can create a label just for them. You can see when I start typing something that's not found in the list, this little add prompt shows up. Just click on that and save it. And then the next time I look at this drop down, I'll have potatoes in my options as well. And I will show you after we build a delivery how that actually looks in the labels. So that is the basic rundown of the product management page. Are there any more questions here before I move on? Okay, I promised I would talk about variants because we've had some questions. So right now, like I said, there is only support for a single variant per product. We do still plan to add support for multiple variants. That'll be coming down the road a little ways. As far as what you'll be able to do with variants, because I know there's been a little bit of confusion around that as well. So if you want to sell the same product by a different unit or base quantity or price, so for example, you wanted to sell eggs by the dozen and by the half dozen, or you wanted to sell potatoes by 1 pound or by 5 pound bags, things like that, you will be able to do those with the planned version of multiple variants. Something that came up that is not currently in that design is balancing inventory across multiple variants. So if you have your potatoes in 1 pound and 5 pound bags, those inventories are managed separately. They don't pull from the same source. So you will still have to, you can't just look at all the potatoes in your warehouse and set the inventory for that and then expect the system to correctly track both of them together because the inventory is stored at the variant level. Now that we know that that's something that some of you would like to do, we will be discussing how we can add it in, but it won't be in the initial version. The workaround right now until we have multiple variants is just to use the same base product and create a new product similarly to what you've been doing with overrides in the old delivery builder, but it's a little bit cleaner, it's a little bit easier to read for you and to manage down the line, and I'll show you how to do that in the delivery builder. And if everybody's good with this page, I'm going to switch to that now. So when I go in here and I create a new delivery, I'm going to start off the same way that I would for any other delivery, with one exception, and that is this little checkbox up here that says use centralized inventory. So once we turn this on for you, you will have the option to use either delivery builder until we retire the old one. So I would encourage you to use this one and ask questions as you need to get used to it. But let me put some dates in here. This should look pretty familiar. Just gonna put the whole next week in this delivery. I know that some of you split up your weeks and you can still do that as well if you wanted to do just, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then do your weekend deliveries in a separate separate one. You can still do that as well. I'm gonna call this demo CI delivery. The same rules apply for the customization email and for the cutoff time. And when you submit this, you will still go to the farm happening page. Let me just create a quick. Okay. The next page is going to look new. But not super new, because once we start adding rows to it, it's going to look very much like the product management page that we were just on. It follows largely the same rules. So I'll just run through a couple of things that are different when you're building things here. The first thing I'm going to highlight is your metrics fields. These are similar to how they worked in the old delivery builder. So you have your dates and the locations for each date, your share counts, and then your metrics down here. So your target value, and you can see the estimated value go up as we add items to the delivery. The extras value is going to be 0 until you launch customization and members actually start purchasing extras. It will only reflect what members have in their cart. And then the Sku count, this is just telling you the number of unique products that you have in your delivery. So I said I would show you how to use different products. So I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs here that we set to a dozen before. It's going to ask you for 2 critical pieces of information here before you add the product. One is the allocation scheme, and the other is the delivery quantity. So the allocation scheme, this replaces the little icons that were in the old delivery builder. So the star to make an item featured, or the link icon to control whether an item was automatically added to boxes or not. So default is the same as if you had selected no icons in the old builder. Extras is still extras. You're just adding those in the same step here rather than having a separate screen for those. Featured, like I said, replaces the star, and specialty replaces the unlink action. So these will be able to be added to the regular box products, so they don't need to be purchased as extras. They just aren't included in the members box via the automated box building process. So I'm going to leave my eggs as default. The delivery quantity is the number that you want to be automatically put into members boxes during the box build. So you can see up here that it tells you how many you have in inventory already. You can set this delivery quantity to anything. If you set it to greater than the inventory, it will only use a maximum of the number of available inventory, so that you don't accidentally create a shortage, right? I'm going to set this to 50. And the effect there will be that it will use a maximum of 50 when building boxes. There will still be the other 26 available for people to add at customization. And then when I add this to my delivery, you can see, just like in the other page, you have the product name and the image, and you can edit the image here the same way we did before. You can set your pack order if you want it to be something other than the default. You could change your department if you wanted to. Your tags, maybe you want to call these out as being organic eggs. And when you're happy with your changes, you can hit save. You will then have the option to remove an item from the delivery if you want to. And now I'm going to add, let's say we also want to do eggs by the half dozen. We're going to do that as a separate product. And so you can see if I type something in that doesn't have an exact match, again, it'll give you the option to create it. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to make this eggs half dozen. And this will inherit from eggs, and it will be other. And these are also organic. If you don't set an image when you are creating the farm product, then it will use the default image that's on the base product. So I can just bypass this if I want to. I'm going to set a price and set my unit type and edit my SKU accordingly and hit finish. And now it's going to give me the same set of questions, right? So do I want them, how do I want them allocated? I'm going to say specialty for these, so that someone doesn't accidentally get, a dozen and a half dozen in their box. And you notice when I set this to specialty, and this is also true if I set it to extras, it changes this delivery quantity field to 0 and it disables it. The reason for that is the delivery quantity is only used by the automatic box building algorithm. And when you set an item to specialty, it is excluded from the automatic box building. So there's no reason to set this field. So we disable it and save you that step. If I were to switch this back to default, you see that it becomes enabled again, and I could change it if I want to. And then I can add it. Go ahead.
Sorry, we have a quick question about the delivery quantity. Can you just reiterate how delivery quantity works against the inventory?
Yes. So inventory quantity, like I said on the other page, is how many you actually have available that are not already in somebody's box. The delivery quantity is how many you want this delivery to automatically try to put into members' boxes. So where this comes in handy is if you are going to run multiple deliveries at a time. Say you build separate deliveries for different locations, or you build separate deliveries for different share sizes, something like that, where you're going to have multiple deliveries running concurrently. And you want to make sure that the 76 of these that you have available, some get put into boxes in every delivery, right? So if I set my delivery quantity equal to my inventory quantity, that says if I have 76 members in this delivery, all of them might get eggs, and then there would not be any left for the next delivery that I launch. But if I do one, if I have 76 eggs and I launch my first delivery with 50, that guarantees that there are going to be at least 26 left over for members in the next delivery. Or if you only have one delivery active at a time, that guarantees that there will be at least 26 left over for members to add at customization if they want to.
Can you hear me, Emily?
I can.
Yeah, okay, great. So I've been using this a little bit, and I basically in that example you just gave, I said delivery quantity 50, but then it oversold and it sold all 76 of them. And so I was speaking with my account manager, and I mean, we didn't really come up with a good solution, but I oversold a whole bunch of stuff. doing it this way. And so the sense I was getting through using this is that the delivery quantity is what it would push out into boxes to start. But then after customization, they could eat into that additional 26.
So that's correct. The last thing you just said is how this is intended to work. This is the maximum that it will push out in box building, and then customization can eat into the last 26. The overselling problem that you mentioned, did that happen recently? Because that was a bug that we had when this was like within the first few weeks of release. That bug was reported and was fixed to the best of my knowledge.
Well, this happened within the last 2 weeks, but I think the issue I'm running into here in using this to set up estimates is, and I wrote the question out, but so I don't estimate my harvest for the whole week at once. I do them separately. I have 3 deliveries a week, and so I do 3 different harvest estimates, and that works best for me in terms of the way I manage the farm, and I'd like to keep doing that. So let's say if I need to share 200 carrots between 3 deliveries, if I create the estimate for my delivery on Monday 1st, and I say, okay, there's 200 carrots total, I want to give 100 to Monday, and then I send that out, then they can still, with customization, use up those 100 that I'm reserving for the other days. And so I'm looking for a way to reserve those carrots and say like, no, nobody on Monday could touch these because I need them for Tuesday and Wednesday.
Okay, so what you can do in that situation is when you build your your Monday delivery, if you want to guarantee that you're going to have 100 that can't be used in customization either, then I would only set your inventory quantity to 100. And that means that for the automatic box building and customization, only 100 can be used. And then when you launch your Tuesday delivery, you can add the other 100 to your inventory quantity. And then that'll make sure that some go into the Tuesday boxes.
Okay. I see how that will help. It, to me, like doing it that way kind of takes away the centralized of the centralized inventory, because it would be really great to just say my total carrots is 200 and not have to have like different, you know what I mean? It's like I'm balancing 2 separate inventories of carrots. It'd be cool. It'd be great if there was something like, as opposed to like maximum delivery quantity, if we had that option while we were building the deliveries.
So once you maximum delivery quantity. So once you change this, right, like this amount is shared. So if you launched the Monday delivery at 100 and then you changed it to 200 when you were launching the Tuesday delivery, those 200, like all of the inventory would then be available to any open delivery. So in that sense, it is centralized. The team has started doing some work around purchase orders as well that will let inventory be updated depending on when like you're receiving shipments of certain things, if you're getting them from other farms. And there's a possibility that we could extend that to allow sort of a time released inventory function. We have had high level discussions about that. It's not planned right now, but that is something that we can look into down the line.
Great.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I work for Caney Fork Farms, and I just wanted to tack on to what Mike is saying. We have a meat CSA, and I manage all of our inventory through Square right now. And the reason is because for that same carrot example, I need to know how much meat I have in our freezer, and I have to spread that inventory out to last us throughout the season. And I am constantly adding more inventory, you know, as we process animals, but this is also problematic for me in that, like, it does require me to keep up with my inventory through another platform, because I have to know how many, you know, chuck roasts I have total in the freezer, but I can't offer them all to my members in 1 month, right? Because I have to have enough to ration throughout a whole season. So I just wanted to tack on that would be useful for me as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, we'll look into that. For right now, yeah, just however much you're willing to sell at a given time, that'll be the basis of your inventory quantity. And we'll let you know as the enhancements become available. Okay. I'm going to add a couple more things here and play with some different allocation schemes. So let's put some beats in here and say that they're featured. Oh, I did forget one thing on our eggs. So you can see that the eggs half dozen, because it's a brand new product we just created, right? It doesn't have anything in inventory right now. I could launch this that way if I wanted to, but obviously nobody would be able to buy them. So I'm going to just update this, and all you do there is click on the inventory quantity field. And again, you can type this in manually, or you can use the arrows. If you try to go negative, it'll tell you you can't do that. It will also tell you if you set this to less than your available, less than your delivery quantity, it'll warn you and just say, hey, if your inventory is less than your delivery quantity, then all of your available inventory might be allocated and there wouldn't be anything left for customization. That is just a warning. You can bypass that if you want to. If you set it to a positive number that does not contradict your delivery quantity, then you get no warnings and you can just hit save. I'll show you what this looks like. So here I have, 138 in my inventory and 100 in my delivery quantity. If I went, oh, I only have, 38 on hand, something happened to my other 100, it'll tell you this, but you can see, you can still bypass that if you wanted to.
A question about inventory. Is the inventory we build here the same as what you see when you open the inventory tab on the side of the dashboard?
No, and I was actually getting to that later, but yeah, that's a good question. No, the inventory tab over here is essentially deprecated. It went with the old system, and that link will actually be going away. All the inventory for centralized inventory is managed either here or in the product management page that I showed before. Similarly, if you have this turned on and you build a delivery in the old delivery builder, that also does not use this same inventory pool. So if you want to, if you want your deliveries to all reference the same pool, then you need to build them in the centralized inventory model. Let's see. I'm just going to add a couple more products here. Feel free to throw out questions as you have them. A couple other enhancements that we are planning for this page. It's been requested from a few farms that we make the inventory quantity editable here. So we'll be looking into that down the line as well. Also, you can change the order of your products in the delivery by clicking and dragging on the little icon on the far left here. And that will automatically save. You can see it says farm products have been reordered. We have had some people ask to add like a move to top option. So when you have, a few hundred products in your delivery, obviously the click and drag can get a little bit cumbersome. So we have heard the request to be able to send something directly to the top if you wanted to do that. me get a couple of extras in here. Let's do, I'm gonna do steak as an extra. And again, I'm gonna make sure that I set a delivery quantity, or an inventory quantity rather, sorry. The delivery quantity is 0 because it's an extra. And let's get some bacon. We'll do that as an extra as well. Okay, so obviously this is a kind of a small delivery, but for demo purposes and being conscious of time, we're gonna go with this. So you see we have some default products, we have some featured and some specialty and some extras. One other thing I want to show you is there are a couple of warnings that will come up when you try to move this to review, depending on the status of your products here. So one thing that will happen is if you forget to set a price, which is not that uncommon with a new product, you'll get a warning. So I'm just going to change something to 0 so that you can see what that's going to look like. Another warning system is if you set your share quantity to something that seems unreasonably large. The cutoff for that is 10. So if I have 10 or more of something in here, it's going to warn me. And if your delivery quantity is greater than your inventory quantity, which we discussed already, and you can see on the beats. So when I click move to review, it's going to say, hey, you know, we found 3 potential issues. Do you really want, you know, your members to purchase collard greens in multiples of 10? Do you want to use up all your beets during box building? And do you really want to give away your broccoli for free? If you're okay with all of these, you absolutely can ignore them and click yes, continue. If these are not what you want, click no, go back. You'll stay on this screen and you can change anything you need to. So let's make our broccoli have a price, and let's set our collards back to 1. But we're going to say we're okay with the beets. Maybe this is a case we're going to add more inventory later, or maybe this is just what's left over from a previous delivery. We're going to go ahead and hit move to review. Now we're going to bypass this one warning. So we're going to say yes, continue. This should look familiar. From here on out, nothing has really changed. So it's going to build your shares, and then it's going to show you your preview page. And just like before, you can override any pending shares. If you had any empty shares, anything like that, it would give you the chance to override them. You can go back and make changes if you want to. Or you can launch. So now that I've launched this, I said that I would show you how the inventory changes. So you can see this either in your delivery builder. So if you go back into edit, you'll remember that all of our held quantities were 0 before. And now they are not, except for the specialty and the extras items, because those were not used by the box building algorithm. And you can also see that our beets, even though we had 100 for the delivery, it did not exceed the 38 that we had in inventory. When you have launched your delivery, just like in the old builder, there are some things that you can go back and edit, and some things that you cannot. So you can edit anything that has to do only with display, basically. But you cannot edit anything that would affect what is actually in the members box or how much they will pay for it. So I can't change my price anymore. I can't change my share quantity or my unit type anymore, or my delivery quantity, because that's not relevant after box building. I can still change my inventory if I want to. So if I have harvested more than I was expecting to, or if, you know, some of it was lost due to spoilage or something like that, I can adjust that. It will not let you set this to less than 0. So what that basically means is that you cannot eat into your held quantity. If you do have a shortage, the old shortage tool is not in this page. We do have a ticket to add some shortage handling here, but in the meantime, you can only set this to 0. And if you need to deal with taking products out of members' boxes, you can contact your account manager and we'll get that taken care of for you. Similarly to what we already do. You also do have the ability, obviously, to edit members' shares via the customization page like you always have. You can change anything here. So if you want to give a better description for your members, you can change that here. Or if you want the name to show up differently, maybe you want to specify that these are red beets. You can make that change, and then say you want to add another product, you can still do that. Maybe we changed it to red beets because we also want to add golden beets, right? I'm going to do this. And I'm going to import a new photo. So just like adding a product before you launched, you can set anything you need to here. But once it's in the delivery, you won't be able to edit it anymore. This is still enabled, but again, it's not relevant here because your boxes have already been built. So the effect of adding a product after you've launched is the same as it was before. Members will see it and be able to add it at customization. It just doesn't get built into boxes. Let me see.
I have a thought here in chat about the launching phase. A suggested change to have the ability to easily click through suspended shares, opening the member view so that they can quickly figure out why someone is not getting a share.
I see. So like adding a link to the member's account from that page.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can write up a ticket for that. Okay, so that is Delivery Builder 101. Let me make one more change here. I'm going to put some things in a different label group so that I can show you filtering on the labels. Okay. Okay, so now that I have launched a delivery and I have boxes that exist, I'm going to take a look at these dates and we're going to go over to the logistics page. Excuse me. And I'm going to pop open logistics. For those of you that haven't seen this before, we did a separate demo of this and we are short on time. So I'm going to run through this really quickly. And then if you have additional questions about this, you can follow up with us. So I'm just going to build a quick route and save it, and then go into my labels and reports tab And you can see that our product label groups appear here. So I can filter my list on people who have one of these things. So you can see if I select cooler, it eliminates anyone who doesn't have that in their share. Similarly, I could filter on just the share size if I wanted to. And then when I go over to my labels, this is important to note because it does work a little bit differently for the labels than it does on the table view. We wanted to give everybody the ability to just print a specific batch of labels if they needed to. So here, if you want to print the labels just for a label group, if you only select that group, you don't actually get any results. You need to also select the share size. So what this is going to do, in this case, it's going to give you all of the greens labels only. If you wanted just the greens labels for somebody that has the small share, you can uncheck medium. Likewise, I can flip these and just get the mediums. This would also apply to farm stand, right? If you want to print your farm stand labels separately, if you had an active farm stand delivery, that would be an option here under share sizes, and you could select that and the label groups and print just those. I know we've only got a couple of minutes. I want to give you all a chance to ask questions. If you have a question later, feel free to send us an email and we'll reply privately or post it in the Harvey Farmers group so that everyone can see.
We did have a question about copying a delivery.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't show copying a delivery, did I? So is the question about copying from an old delivery or just generically about copying?
There, yeah, I think just broadly, like, is there still the ability to copy and how does that work?
Yes, absolutely. That has not changed. So you can see this is the delivery that I just created. And I did actually create an old delivery, old style delivery for the purpose of showing this. You can copy either type of delivery to either type of delivery. So I can take an old one, which just to show you real quick, this is in fact the old delivery builder. I can take an old one and copy it. And as long as I select this checkbox, this is taking a minute to load, I apologize. Come on. As long as I select the centralized inventory checkbox on that first screen, it will use the new delivery builder. And as long as I do not check that checkbox, it will use the old delivery builder. And it doesn't matter what you're copying from. So that was an old one, and I can select use centralized inventory, and I'm just going to pick one date. Whoops. So that I have something left to show you the other one. So if I submit this, you can see, oh. Must have clicked something wrong there. Let me just go back in here real quick. Okay. So if I pick use centralized inventory, and I submit, I'm gonna bypass this for now. You can see it's gonna take all the products that were in my old delivery, but you're gonna see them in the new delivery builder page. There must be something going on with my internet right now. I'm sorry about that. It is storming, so. But anyway, I apologize for the demo falling apart a little bit here, but yes, you can copy either type of delivery to either type of delivery.
And Emily, this is Curtis from Millsap Farm. Does that also copy the photos over the any custom photos we brought in there?
It will copy, yes, it should copy the most recent photo that you set on that product. Anything else? All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in and for your patience. I know this was kind of long. Like I said before, if you come up with any other questions or you have anything that you want to discuss in a little more depth, do feel free to reach out to me or your account manager, and we'll post this recording as soon as it's available. Kelly?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to